Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight we speak softly about you're not behind in life, not as a goal to chase, but as something your soul already recognizes. There's a hush that slips over the mind just before sleep, when the stories of rushing and racing and not enough start to unravel. The world quiets, and in that hush, something gently real hums below every worry. What if there's nothing to catch up to? What if time is more river than race? As you let your head rest a little deeper into the pillow, listen to the questions that your bones have always longed for. What if you've never actually been broken? What if your softness was the wealth all along? What part of you already knows there is nowhere else more right than here, more needed than now? Maybe the ache of behind is just ancient dust on dreams that were always too wild to measure with clocks. Maybe the part of you that compares, that wonders if you missed your turn, is only trying to keep you safe from the sting of feeling left out. But what if you were never really late to your own life? Notice the gentle weight of your body, the pulse behind your ribs, steady and unhurried. How quietly you belong. Stay with me if you wish. Let the heart remember what the mind tries to forget. You're not behind, love, you're here. And here is already enough. There's a quiet ache that pulses beneath the surface. Isn't there a kind of hush you try to outrun, but it never lets you wander too far? Sometimes it hums at the center of your chest, not sharp, not loud, just there, like the memory of a question you asked a long time ago. Why does it hurt to be here? And why does it hurt even more to leave yourself behind? You shape days around avoiding it. You build timelines out of the stories it's written, wondering if maybe tomorrow or the next chapter you'll find relief. But the ache simply sits, patient with your running, gentle with your fear. It waits not as punishment, but as a reminder that even in your deepest discomfort, a kind of truth is humming, asking to be heard. There's a part of you, soft and unhurried, that remembers what it felt like to trust the ache and not to shrink from it, but to cradle it in both hands and wonder. Could the pain be a map? Could every twinge, every hollow place, point to something you once loved and lost? The ache is memory, and it is prophecy. It shows where you have been and what you still long for. Maybe you see it in the way you flinch at words unspoken, or in the dreams you wake from, heavy with a yearning you can't quite name. Maybe the ache shows up at midnight, when the world goes silent, and only your soul is awake enough to notice what if the ache is not a flaw, but a secret, a message sewn into your body, whispering of a destiny that survives even the roughest days. What if the softest parts of you, the ones most wounded by time's sharp edge, are also the most sacred? We walk with this ache, believing it to be a burden, but deep down, another voice suggests it could be a teacher, a friend, a well of ancient knowing. When you listen, the ache grows quieter. Not gone, not silenced, but softened into something you can hold, something that holds you back. And in the middle of the night, when you are alone with your breath and the stories you've internalized, the ache simply waits, to be seen, to be named, to be allowed to exist without shame. The ache is not the end of your story, it is just an invitation. To feel, to remember, to return when you are ready, in your own time. There's an ache that comes quietly sometimes, like a low tide revealing what's always been underneath. Wanting more is rarely loud, it's a whisper curling up behind the ribs, stirring just before sleep. Sometimes it feels like a question with no shape, just a sense that something is waiting. Not missing, not broken, just waiting. You notice it when the world is still, when there's nothing left to prove or defend. It tastes like hunger, but not for food or applause, for life, for depth, for another layer you haven't yet touched. Your mind tries to hush it, calling it greedy or restless, but your body knows the difference. The wanting is sacred. It lives where stories aren't finished yet, an invitation in your bones, soft and constant. There's a gentle ache in wanting more when everything you've been told is to be grateful and still. The teachings say to close your hands around what you have and call it enough. But that old script only half tells the story, doesn't it? You can sense there's a wider ocean waiting beyond what's safe. There's truth in the emptiness, a pull towards something made just for your breath. This hunger isn't shame, it's memory waking up. Desire shapes your days, quiet or wild. It's the secret thread in all your choices. The gaze lingered a little too long, the daydream you tuck behind the busy. You are stitched with wanting. The longing isn't outside you. It's the very pulse that animates your being here, a signal that says, even in this moment, more is possible. Sometimes the world calls it yearning and makes it sound like lack, but there's something clean and holy in the ache. It isn't lack. It's recognition of what your soul was always meant to touch. It matters because it pulls you gently towards your next becoming, not away from gratitude, but deeper into it. You can thank what is and still reach toward what could be, just as night thanks the day for its ending, then cradles the dream for dawn. There's a certain wind at midnight, one you know even if you couldn't name it. It's the hush just before thought, the quiet thrum beneath the ribcage. Fear arrives here, not as a monster, but as a subtle ache chasing you down silent hallways, convincing you to move a little faster toward some invisible finish line. There's the prickling sense that if you slow for even a breath, you'll be passed over, or found lacking, or left behind by those who seem to get the secret you missed. Sometimes urgency isn't the pounding of footsteps, it's the buzzing at the base of your skull, an ache in the palm, a line of tension running from jaw to chest. You might feel something coiling when the sun goes down, as if the night is measuring your worth by how hard you're searching. Maybe even now, there's a part of you making lists in the dark, rehearsing all the ways you will prove your enoughness when tomorrow wakes you. But tonight, you're just here, just breathing as if that could be enough. Fear can look like ambition or determination or that practiced smile in a meeting when your soul wishes it could rest. Maybe you trace moments from childhood, little flashes of shame, times you hurried to catch up, times your softness was mistaken for laziness or lack. The mind creates a loop. If you just do more, become more, then something will quiet down inside. The loop winds itself tighter each time you succeed, and still find the emptiness waiting like an old friend at home. Listen to the way your body hums with the need to be seen, the rush to become. It's so familiar, this silent contract. Move faster, please louder, prove louder. Yet in the places you tuck away at night, maybe your truest ache isn't for approval but for rest. For release, for the hush that comes when you finally stop running and let the fear catch up and let it have a seat beside you. The fear is only asking to be met with softness. Feel how each breath lengthens the gap between urgent thoughts. There is no punishment for slowing down in the dark. No reckoning if you shift your weight, uncurl your fists. Remember how safe it is to be formless and still. Unworthiness and urgency aren't flaws of the soul. They're echoes, habits. And in this quiet, you can almost hear the faintest song beneath the fear. A note that says, you are whole even as you wait, even before you arrive. Somewhere, midnight drifts across the windows, and something quiet inside you calls your attention. Not to hustle, not to change, but to simply notice. There is a shape here, a rhythm that's never quite let go. The way your mind stretches at the edge of rest. looping over unfinished lists, replaying all the moments when you might have done more, or been more, or earned a little more belonging just by crossing another thing off. It's subtle how it coils around your heart, this sense that maybe you are safest when you're useful, that the moments between tasks, the soft silence after doing, can feel too empty, too much like lack. There's a whisper that says, if you just keep moving, nothing can catch up with you. No fear of not measuring up, no ache for gentleness, no old ghosts looking for your attention in the dark. And so the loop runs, just beneath the surface, promising safety, the kind of safety that's always just out of reach, because the finish line keeps moving. The more you prove, the more proof you crave. It hurts quietly, doesn't it? Not sharp enough to demand a cry, but deep enough to leave a shadow behind your eyes. This ache for assurance, this need that wears the mask of purpose, even when it's just an attempt to outrun emptiness. And when you pause, really pause, there's a longing for something softer. For hours that don't need to be filled, for silence that tastes like presence instead of punishment, for a sense of enoughness that blooms without reason or reward. But the world taught you early that staying busy keeps the noise out, and that slowing down might let it all rush back in, the questions, the ache, the memory of how much you wanted to be safe, loved, free. You've known both sides of the pattern. The high of being needed, the exhaustion after, the pride in what you make, and the emptiness that lingers when the work is over. Productivity and scarcity, trading places so quickly that it becomes hard to separate who you are from what you do. There's a tug-of-war in the quiet spaces, one part of you desperate to rest and another whispering that you haven't earned it yet. You wonder sometimes if there's a way to step between the beats, if there's a soul memory of abundance that remembers the worth of simply being. And as the night deepens, you let yourself ask what it would feel like if you never had to run again, if you could trust softness, if quietly existing was the sign of secret wealth you'd overlooked all along. Inside every quiet choice, there lives a kind of timing that's not about minutes or months. It's the pause between what you think you want and the peace that comes anyhow. It's a remembering that shows up before you even ask for it. Sometimes the world tells you that patience means waiting, that if you just force enough calm, or structure enough silence, then the answer will show up dressed in neon certainty. But the deeper truth reveals itself only in the spaces where you stop waiting to be picked, or fixed, or proved right by the calendar. Why does this matter? Because somewhere in your chest, there's a pulse that beats without permission. There is a rhythm that's never been late for itself, no matter how far you've wandered from trust. The timing that wants to find you has been breathing your story the whole way home. And that ease, that certainty, is not earned, it's remembered. Like the first taste of water after years of thirst, you didn't notice growing inside you. Sometimes your soul moves like the tide. It comes in softly, not needing to explain why each wave covers the sand in its own good hour. Sometimes your questions circle for ages, only to be answered in the spill of morning light through your curtains. And sometimes you'll find the right people arrive when you finally learn to enjoy your own company at midnight, smiling quietly at everything you thought you needed to become. The heart doesn't open all at once, it unfolds slowly, like a prayer whispered beneath the surface, like dawn gradually painting the underside of closed eyelids. There's a grace in how we let ourselves soften, a kind of intelligence that the mind can't hurry and the spirit can't fake. Safety in receiving begins when the body remembers no one is rushing it. The soul has carried so many maps of caution, so many old reminders to brace, tighten, wait for the other shoe. And yet there is this gentle, silver thread running through the center of you, a quiet place that has never confused openness with danger. It matters because deep down, being able to receive is the same as trusting the world to hold you, little by little, again and again. It is like standing in a warm April rain that learns your shape, drop by drop, asking nothing from you but your presence, or like a beloved pet finally resting its head in your lap after a long day apart, no hurry, just the silent pledge of belonging. Or maybe it's the way you exhale when the day is done, the sigh that happens when you realize you don't have to do or prove just to exist here. There is a softness returning to you, even now, in the spaces where you once fortified, in the gentle undoing of all the ways you protected your gold. Each moment, the soul leans closer to trust. Each breath is a lantern, showing that safety grows in increments, woven from lived quiet and familiar presence. Receiving is not strange to you, it's not a foreign practice. It might just be a language you forgot you could speak, or a song that has continued humming in another room, waiting for you to remember the door is unlocked. And with each soft moment, another part of you sighs with relief, remembering how natural it feels to stop bracing and start letting in the good. The goodness is already here, standing gently close, hoping you'll let it all the way inside. Sometimes the mind wants a map, a sense of which step follows the last, which star leads the way if the moon disappears behind clouds. But your soul knows that searching for a map is a bit like searching for the wind. You already feel what you are hoping to find in the air, against your skin, in the currents moving through ordinary moments. There are moments when it aches, not just in your heart, but through the bones in your hands or the air in your lungs. Moments when it seems like you took the wrong turn years ago and now, all you can do is build a life from somewhere you didn't ask to be. This soul teaching asks softly, what if each so-called detour is simply another name for arrival? What if no step could ever be wasted? This matters because all the old stories of being off track can press so hard inside the body, the quiet pressure just beneath your ribs, the tension behind your eyes, the low hum of not enoughness that colors dreams and daylight. When we believe we are lost, we withhold our gentleness. We brace. We wait for a sign, not realizing we've always been the sign, the evidence that life moves, that love returns, that enoughness is not a destination but a presence we carry. Sometimes it's the wildflower blooming between cracks in a city sidewalk. No one planted it there, yet it opens anyway, rooted in what others call broken ground. Or the way old friends drift apart for reasons that make no sense until years later, when new laughter finds you and you realize nothing was wasted. Maybe it's the childhood dream you left behind, resurfacing in the things you do with your hands, the way you comfort others, the color you choose for your living room. Paths wind, but they never stray from you. You are the path, the journey, the reason every step is holy. Even if tonight finds you doubting where you stand or wondering whether you missed some secret door, line in. Feel yourself as both seed and soil, both the question and the answer, both the longing and the landing. The path isn't waiting out there. The path is the heartbeat inside you. It is the yes behind closed eyes. It is every way you find yourself home, again and again. Sometimes it feels like the quietest truths arrive late, after the mind has given up the search, as if they wait until everything else has grown soft with exhaustion. Tonight you rest in that gentle place, where knowing doesn't need to declare itself. It just breathes beside you. What was once so loud in your heart seems to whisper now. folding itself into the hush of your body, settling into sleep. All the phrases and worries that used to spin circles in your chest. Notice how they slow, how they finally let go. The truth you carried in your bones drifts to the surface, as if it had been there the whole time. Just waiting for you to loosen your grip, and maybe there were nights you wondered if you'd ever be clear, whether the tangle could ever unravel, whether the ache could ever soften. Remember the way the moon spills its light without effort, pooling softly in the places darkness used to cling. The same quiet, silver certainty lives inside you now. You don't need to make answers happen. Sometimes what's true comes to settle when the questions grow tired and the heart lets go of the need to force and claim. There's nothing you have to push through tonight, even the parts of you that felt broken, scattered. Unsure, they find their way under the gentle gravity of truth, like wildflowers bending toward morning. Honesty turns toward its own light, slowly clarifying. Never rushed by the world's urgency. Feel the subtle way your body rearranges itself on the edge of sleep, a small surrender in your jaw, a warmth behind your ribs. This is the integration you feared might never come, but it arrived softer, truer than any story told too soon. Let the night be patient as you are. Let the ease find you, as it always meant to. You have walked this far not by force, but by faith in the quiet voice barely audible in daylight. It is still with you now, steady as breath, promising you do not need to do more. The truth settles at its own pace, with no performance required, just as rivers find their bed, just as time bends toward morning, just as your own heart remembers the way home in the dark. Surrender to the ease that waits at the end of longing. Everything real emerges from silence first, holding you without demand. Let everything around you soften, as if the night is holding you in a memory you once trusted. In this gentle darkness, let your mind drift behind your busy thoughts, beyond every story that ever asked you to prove or earn worth. Imagine a still blue lake at dawn, the water absolute in itself, needing no permission to be worthy of reflection. Each breath you take is a ripple inviting your subconscious to remember. Worth comes before every label, every attempt, every measure. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you can lose. Imagine the smallest wildflower, unseen by anyone, alive simply because it is. In this moment, let your body settle, your eyes heavy, as if the dusk itself is draping you in softness. Feel your pulse. Notice how it continues, without effort, proof that existing is enough. And if self-doubt arrives like a shadow behind you, let it rest in your lap a while, like an old friend who deserves gentleness. Know that even shadows mean there is light close by. Let the fabric of your life, every dark and light thread, weave together into something quietly beautiful, strong because it simply is. Imagine an ancient forest breathing all around you. Even the hidden roots belong. So do you. Rest here in the softness beneath everything chasing, everything proving. There is nowhere to go.